Michigan City Back in Business Toolkit that we've put together a couple weeks ago. We're continuing to update this. So we actually made a few updates last week, nothing significant. We've added some other local businesses that are selling some PPE for our businesses in the area. So you'll see that at the end. But just want to run through it really quick, just so that you guys are a little more familiar with it and kind of what we're using to put the information in there, where we got some of that information. So we based a lot of this off the Indiana resources page from the Back on Track Indiana plan. There is a ton of resources on that site that really delves into almost into any industry you can think of. What I wanted to do was take what they had there and kind of really shorten that to give you guys something that was a quicker reference guide, something that you could get to much faster. So that's where we got it. If you want to spend time going into more information, you can definitely find some of that there. I think one of the biggest things that I've found, and then through discussions with others, is communication. And this is true for not only the restaurant industry, but really for any industry, as whether they've been open this whole time or they're getting ready to reopen. Communicating with your employees and communicating with your community and your potential customers or your current client base is really, really important. Help make them put them at ease and make them feel safe as they're coming to your place of business. So visual communication, something they can clearly see what you're doing. I have been definitely venturing out this last week. I was kind of on the edge of my seat waiting for restaurants to reopen. So I have been to several local places already over the last week. And I think the communication is there for sure. A lot of our businesses are already doing that. My husband and I had a wonderful date night at Patrick's on Saturday, and they had cards on the table that kind of told you what they were doing. And then very visual, you could see the difference in what they had done with their dining space, and communicating with everybody about what they were doing. I've seen that also at other places where I think is really key, is putting some sort of information right on the table where your customer is sitting and telling them all of the steps you've taken to improve or keep them safe. What are you doing for your employees? What's required of your employees? So that way, if that's not happening, your customers can maybe mention that or say something, but let them know what it is that they should expect. So a lot of this is run through as different ways that different things that you should take on as some guidance. Face masks and gloves and washing your hands, a lot of those things that you guys are already doing, but just reinforcing those rules with your employees, and like again I said, letting your customer base know that this is what you're doing. And there's resources there for additional places that you can go to find even further guidance on restaurant industry. So planning your reopening, putting together some new policies. It's not a bad idea to look at your employee manual. Is what you're doing now, do you need to add something to that? Are you communicating very effectively with your employees? Do they understand what you've said? It might not even hurt to maybe have them document that they read through what are some of the new rules that you've put in place, just as you would when you hire somebody on for the first time and ask them to sign off on an employee manual. It might not hurt to go ahead and have them sign off on whatever new rules and policies and procedures you've put in place. Communicating your plan, and then marketing your business, which I know we have some great speakers. I'll probably talk a little bit more about that later on. This page here is really just a sample plan that you could put together. It's just to give you an idea of what are some of the things you should think about as you're communicating that plan to your employees. And if you don't have this, I can definitely send this out along with the recording that we're doing of this webinar today. We'll send that out to everybody as well, so you guys can come back and reference different pieces throughout. These are some different posters that we found to really communicate some of those pieces. This is a page, like I said, of the personal protective equipment that's available in the area. We're specifically promoting our members and our local businesses that are offering these. I'm sure there's a lot of national organizations and businesses that you can buy this stuff from. We are trying really hard to promote local, support local. So all of these are members of the chamber and local businesses that have supplies for you. Some other local resources that are in there as a small business that might benefit you. And then they're not copies of the posters that you can print out. This one specifically, really just like putting in your company name here. What is your maximum occupancy that you're allowed to have? And then what are, just checking off what are some of the things that you're requiring. And then I think this next one too, when your maximum capacity is reached, making that very clear on your front door, wherever your customers are coming in, letting them know that it might even help to have an employee stand there and let them know that, but making it very visual that they know that you've reached your maximum capacity and you can't let anybody else in. And then just some other ones that just kind of give you some ideas, things you can share with your employees around, if it's just a sore throat and there's no other symptoms, do they probably have COVID? Maybe not, like just helping them kind of understand. I know a lot of people are, as they get any kind of symptom, they're checking it and looking it up. Is this COVID? Is this COVID? So just helping reassure them that not every illness that they're getting right now is COVID-19. Allergy season is here. I know I experience that a lot and have to explain to people that I have allergies, especially in the mornings. I can always hear it in my throat. So, and then just proper ways to use your PPE that you have. So this is there. I'll send this out to everybody, but again, just a quick reference guide for you guys to use while you're reopening and getting some stuff going. So at this time, I think Amanda with the LaPorte County Health Department is with us.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi.
So we're going to turn it over to you and let you give some updates just on what people can expect and what are some of the things that you guys are looking at as you're coming in and doing inspections at our local restaurants and food and beverage services.
Sure. So of course we're doing our normal routine inspections, but there's a few other areas that we're going to be hitting on. And as you can imagine, one, definitely making sure that everybody has a face covering. And face coverings doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a mask. It can be a bandana. If you can't find a mask, it can be a cloth mask. If you know anybody who sews, you can sew one up. We have several people here who've been doing that. We've had questions come up about people with asthma or people who can't wear face masks because of breathing issues. You can wear a face shield is an option. So if you're able to get a hold of those, just remember that you can use that as well. I think one of the bigger things also is for restaurants that are reopening, just to think about if your business, if your building has been closed up for several weeks or a month, that there's several things that you need to be looking at, things you haven't used your hot water heater in a while. You want to make sure that your hot water heater is going to be up and running. So verifying your water supplies. If you're on a well, go ahead and, even if it's not time to have it tested, go ahead and get it tested to make sure that your water supply is good. Make sure that you're getting that hot water to your hand washing areas and to your dish machines and your 3-bay sinks. Make sure all the refrigerations and the walk-ins are holding temperature. And pest control. Go ahead and, do a thorough investigation throughout your building to make sure you don't have any extra guests while you were gone that moved in and took the area over. Definitely you need to develop that protocol that's one of the requirements for your employees every day that they check in for work. Have a screening, which can include taking their temperature, digital temperature, forehead temperature, ear thermometer. You don't have to take a temperature, but it's highly, highly, highly recommended that you do. But also going through a questionnaire of, are you sick? Have you been around anybody who's been sick? Have you traveled to an area that has a high number of cases? Have you been to Chicago or Detroit lately, or Marion County or Cass County that has a very high count? Make sure you got your soap everywhere, your hand sanitizer. Excuse me. You also have signs we have a sign available on our website and one that I have emailed out to our restaurants that you can use as screening about the temperature and in those travel areas. You can also post that at your doors as customers come in, so they can stop and think, okay, have I been around anybody, or have I been to any traveling? And if I have, maybe I really shouldn't be coming in to sit down and have a meal at this time. As you know, right now you're at 50% capacity in your dining rooms. Tables have to be 6 feet apart. We're at that point until June 14th, and you guys can go up to 75% capacity, but you still have to maintain that that 6 foot social distancing. So just because you're able to go up to 75% doesn't negate that 6 foot social distancing. We have a lot of information on our website. One of the best ones, though, is backontrack.in.gov. There's a lot of checklists on there from FDA on reopening and the different steps you should be going through for cleaning and sanitizing. And that's another thing. Clean, clean, clean. Bump up your cleaning schedule. You should be going to either paper disposable menus, or if you have laminated menus, those have to be cleaned every single time. And one of my highly recommend is changing out those sanitizer buckets much more frequently than what they have been. Those are one of those areas that you always kind of forget about. Put a reminder on a phone, set a timer, and every hour or two, just completely switch that out. You've got your test strips, and make sure that sanitizer is staying at the proper level, and just wipe down everything that can be wiped down. I think I was kind of all over the place with that. There's so much information and so much stuff to go over and cover. It's a little, it's been crazy. You all know how it's been crazy, but please, if anybody has any questions, I've been sending out emails a couple times a week of all the updates and changes that have been going on at the state level that are filtering down to our level to get it out to everybody. And we're here in the office. There's always somebody in the office. We're making sure there's somebody in the office at all times to be able to answer any of your questions. If you have any questions, you don't know how to do something, give us a call and we'll work through the problem with you. We'll work through your plumbing issue, or how to figure out your capacity, or help develop a employee questionnaire. You know, that's what we're here for. That's what we're going to be doing. And don't freak out when we're coming out to do our inspections. We're there to help, but you know, we also need to keep everybody safe, whether it's your employees, your patrons, the community, all of the above.
All right, thank you, Amanda. If you have any questions for her, just, you know, you can throw them in the chat, or like I said, we'll definitely have time for Q&A at the end. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to our partners at Purdue Northwest, and I'll give them, I'll let them introduce themselves and their titles, because I'm sure they're lengthy. Gardwin and Pitt, take it away. And then you guys should have capacity. If you would have any slides you want to share, you should be able to do that.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Lori. And let me start by asking, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. It is my pleasure, and I'm sure with my colleague Pete also, to be here with you all this morning. I would like to show my appreciation. I am the new director of White Lodging School of Hospitality and Tourism Management. And when Lori told me about this event, I was really excited about it. So today I'll be sharing some of my knowledge in this area, some of the takeaways that I want us to take away from this event include restaurant marketing tips and insights, which I'm going to share with with the group. Then my colleague will also share ways to manage inventory in this new stage. And then we will both discuss staff management when operating at lower capacity. So I would also like to share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about, if you don't mind. I'm assuming you can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you, Laurie. Before we start talking about the restaurant marketing tips and insight, I would like to share some data that is very critical to whatever independent restaurant owners or any restaurant owner in general should be thinking about implementing in their establishment. So, and I'm sure many of you might have seen all these data I'll be sharing with you, but it's going to set the stage for our discussion today. And that will also help with some of the questions during the Q&A section. As we all might have known, food service industry is set to lose an estimate of about $128 billion this year. And this loss is mainly due to COVID-19. When you look at data from Data Essential, you realize that business, of course, it's a common knowledge, is decreasing. And when you look across the food service industry, you look at different restaurant concepts, you realize the ones that are losing most. Fine dining is losing most. 82% of their business are lost. Casual dining, 73%. Mid-scale, 70%. Fast casual and fast food, quick service restaurant, 51% and 42% respectively. You can imagine this is a big loss for our industry. And you can imagine independent restaurant owners what they have to go through. Chain restaurant might have some advantage with marketing opportunity because they do marketing in group. But when you look at independent restaurant, this is a big hit on the owners. Another data I would like to share with you is startups of the restaurant operation currently. Some of them are completely closed for now, 30%. Some of them have closed dining area, but they are offering delivery and takeout. 65% of restaurants are doing that right now. And those that are very, very fortunate to remain completely open, we only have 5% of restaurants. And this is a national survey. It's not just restricted to our communities alone, but it's a reflection of what is going on in our communities. Another data I would like to share with you is those restaurants that need marketing help. You can see the fast food restaurant need about 65%, even though they are not the most hit during this pandemic, but they still believe they need a way to get their message across to their consumers. Fine dining, 60% needs help. Mid-scales, 56%. Fast casual, 53%. And casual dining, 40% of them needs help. Also be mindful that many of these restaurants, especially the fine dining and the casual dining, they have closed most of their dining operation to delivery and take out. So many of them still need help promoting what they are currently doing. I'm bringing this data out so you, as an independent restaurant owner or affiliate, can be thinking, what are we doing now? What should we be thinking of doing moving forward? What are the new strategies or tactics that we need to be thinking of implementing in the next few weeks? I'm not talking of months, I'm talking of weeks, because the impact of this coronavirus is huge. And those that wait to make decisions will feel it worse than those who are quick in making the appropriate. Appropriate is the key word. Making the appropriate decision based on your restaurant concept. And we can talk about that later also. So now let's look at some restaurant marketing tips and insights that I would like to share with you with the data ahead of us. Now we all know that there are different how to guide and best practices out there. But I will tell you now that it doesn't matter if the target market doesn't connect with it. You can have all the best practices in the world. You can have all the best methods or how to do anything in the world. But if you don't connect with your target market, your customers, it really doesn't matter. So what I'm going to be encouraging you to do is to think of a customer-centric marketing campaign. Customer-centric marketing campaign. A marketing campaign that is personalized to your target market in your community. This marketing campaign is not individualistic. It's a collaborative effort. It requires collaborative effort between the independent restaurant group. I say group, you may not have a group right now, but you need to be thinking as one. And this collaboration should be between you, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Department of Health. Between the independent restaurant group, Chamber of Commerce, and Department of Health. This is the collaborative effort that is required at this point in time. This is a we solution. COVID-19 pandemic is a we solution, not a me solution. It's not what you want to do alone. It's what needs to be done as a team, collaboratively, if you want to get the appropriate result that will promote independent restaurant business in the community. Your main marketing goal should show that you can give target market, your customers, your consumers, what they want. That's it. It's as simple as that. Can you give your target market what they want? You have to be mindful that before COVID-19, you've been doing business. And many of you have been very, very successful. And that should continue. However, with the advent of COVID-19, all those business philosophies, all those good tidings were dropped because of one thing. If you think about it, it's all safety. Everybody want to know if they are safe if they come to your establishment. Everyone want to be safe. Let me show a little data from Arrivalist. This data shows what do consumers want. If you look at the top, the essential priority for consumers right now is staying safe from infection. That is the essential priority. And some other group of consumers, they have it as their high priority. If you combine that together, it's about 80% of consumers. Their priority is staying safe from infection. So regardless of all the best practices, regardless of all the guides, your marketing campaign should be designed to inform your consumers that your establishment is safe and open for business. That is the critical tip I want you to take away from this event today. Is my establishment conveying a message to my target market that we are safe and open for business, that you would not come here and live with coronavirus? Even though it's not easy to promise anybody that, but that is what your consumers want to know. They want to know that once they come to your establishment, they are safe. So customer-centric marketing campaign uses distinguished messages and actions to ensure the customers are getting exactly what they want. The customers are not so concerned about the quality of food that you have at this point in time. What they are really concerned about is safety from infection. So they already know you have good food. They already know you have good services. They know all the good things you've been doing before COVID-19. What they need right now, at this point in time, is to be assured that if they walk into your establishment, they will be safe. And this, no matter what else you do, should be the marketing campaign that you are projecting to your consumers. So when you look at the customer-centric marketing campaign, it requires customer-centric establishment. Customer-centric establishment. It also requires customer-centric external and internal marketing communication. Customer-centric establishment. That means whatever you are doing, your consumers are seeing you whenever they visit. Whatever you are doing, your consumers are hearing about it through word of mouth. So if you are telling them that you are safe, you also want your action to show that they will be safe when they come to your facility. So that's customer-centric establishment. Customer-centric external and internal communication, these have to do with your marketing campaign, which could include advertisement, PRO, just name it all. The internal marketing campaign is what you are doing in each of your establishment, because the consumers are seeing you, your guests are seeing you, your visitors are seeing you. What you and your employees are doing is projecting to them that they are safe in your establishment. Some of the health protocols that you are putting in place is projecting to them that they are safe in your establishment. When I say collaborative effort, collaborative marketing branding will help with this. And this is why this is not left to one person. It's not left to one unit. It's not left to one establishment. Collaborative branding requires independent restaurant owners to adhere to the following features. This marketing brand needs to be very visible with attractive colors. And it has to indicate safety of your environment. In fact, it's not a bad idea to incorporate symbols of no COVID-19 symptoms on that marketing brand. So to me, I'm encouraging marketing brand because if it is done as a group and you have a poster of this branding symbol in each restaurant, those driving by, walking by, when they see that symbol in their mind, they will connect that this restaurant is safe from COVID-19. I want you to think for a second, a kid who sees McDonald's arch. I remember when my daughter was growing up, 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 years old, they can't read. But once they see that arch, immediately they are telling me and my wife, I want to go to McDonald's. I want to eat McDonald's. How did they know? Because they saw the symbol. And that symbol is the brand that helped them realize we are close to McDonald's. So my number one tip also include having a collaborative marketing brand that is based on effort that each restaurant can have with the bright colors that indicate they are open for business and we are safe. We are doing everything we can to prevent coronavirus in our environment. And this marketing brand have to be promoted externally and internally. So that when I say externally, what you say and what people are hearing about your facility is very critical. So all your PRs, all your advertisement, you also want to be talking about this marketing brand. You want to feature this marketing brand. Internally, what your client, your customers are seeing, what your guests are seeing, what your patrons are seeing, very important. And the experience they have when they come to your facility is equally important. So these are external and internal marketing that you need to put in place collaboratively to assure your consumers that they are safe when they come to your facility. In a nutshell, a customer-centric marketing campaign should combine FDA, CDC protocols against COVID-19. Each restaurant should be able to follow those protocols. And you use it to provide your target market the confidence of safety from COVID-19 to patronize your business. This is the critical marketing that any establishment really needs to put together now, especially in the hospitality and tourism industry. The consumers want to know that when they come to your facility, they will be safe from infection. This is why I encourage a group effort between all the independent restaurant organizations, if you have one. If not, this is the best time to initiate that. Collaboration of that group with the Department of Health, collaboration of that group with the Chamber of Commerce, because the Department of Health will play a major role. After inspecting each restaurant, they can say, yes, these restaurants are following all the protocol, and give them a check like health inspection. And then those restaurants can also be published on their website, and they can equally be published on Chambers of Commerce website. And of course, they should have a certificate that they can put on their own website to show that we are taking all the protocols necessary to ensure safety of our guests. So these are critical at this point in time. At this point, I would like to invite my colleague, Pete Panis-Tumpo, to lead us on ways to manage inventory in this new stage.
Thank you. I'm going to try to share my screen. And we could start it. Okay, so can you see my screen fine? Okay, thank you. So my name is Pit Party. You can call me Pit, easy. I'm a clinical instructor for a White Lodging and School of White Lodging, Tourism, Hospitality, and Tourism Management. We are going to look into managing inventory today. I know Dr. O talked a lot about how you're marketing your establishment, and now we have to look inside what we can do in order to bring in not only the revenue, but the profit that we are looking for. So we will go over a little bit of how important it is for your inventory. Okay, so basic formula that I want you folks to kind of remember and need to get back into, okay? So basic formula is telling you revenue is equal to your variable cost, your fixed cost, and your profit, okay? So some of your folks' establishment just been open not too long ago, and some of your folks have been in for a while from the list, and then some of you have a quick service and franchising. So it's gonna go everywhere in this equation. However, okay, we need to remember at the end of the day, why are we in the business, okay? Bringing in revenue is great, but don't forget that it doesn't mean anything if you cannot pay the obligations that you have for your establishment, okay? You can bring in all guests you want, okay? They can order expensive bottled wine, order the most expensive stuff on your menu, okay? But if that revenue that you bring in cannot pay for your cost, that doesn't really mean anything, right? The good thing about the cost is most of them you can control, okay? Why do we need to know that? Remember, after you subtract the cost out from your revenue, you have the profit. That is your Mercedes, your BMW, you whatever kind of car you're willing to use, okay? So make sure at the end of the day, you know that you get your money for your Mercedes or for your BMW, whatever float your boats, right? Okay, so what are all these terminologies mean? Let's check it out and see what it is. Okay, fixed cost is the costs that don't usually affect by the sale volume of your business, okay? So we're talking about your rent. It doesn't matter if you have 1 guest coming in, 2 guests coming in, 100 guests coming in. Your landlord will need his money for your rent. That makes sense? Okay. For those folks who are franchising, the franchise fees. It doesn't matter, you open your business, open the door today, don't open the door today. Those franchise fees need to be paid. Okay, so those are the costs that mostly we cannot control. Okay, now we're talking about variable costs. Okay, these are the costs that you folks can control mostly. Okay, these costs are fluctuating depending on the volume of business that you folks do. Okay, I'll give you an example. If you your salmon fillet, okay, your burger, your salmon costs $2. Okay, 1 guest come in, order your salmon, order your burger. It costs you $2. 2 guests come in, order a burger or salmon. It costs you $4. So $2 of each times 4 guests, or times 2 guests. That's $4 cost. That variable according to the volume of business. Okay, and there's an odd one, semi-variable cost that have both element of fixed and variable to it. Okay, I'm talking about labor costs, your water, your NIPSCO. Okay, so it's kind of like, let's say your water and your NIPSCO bill. You have a minimum that you have to pay, and then how much ever you use, then if you use a lot more, then you pay a lot more on top of the minimum that you have to pay regularly. Okay, so just a simple concept that we need to know about the costs. Okay, so now we're going into food and beverage costs. Okay, what you need to know is you need to establish your time frame. We are going to calculate the food costs. Why do we need to know that? Again, okay, the less food costs or variable costs you pay, the more Mercedes and BMW you get to drive. Okay, so that's why we have to worry about this. All right, so we need to establish the time frame. How often would you like to do your inventory? Okay, you could do it daily, weekly, monthly. Okay, daily is good. You spot your mistake, you spot what is wrong right away. Okay, the bad part about the daily inventory is time consuming, and time means money. So you're gonna spend a lot of time and money into that. Weekly, you could do once a week, or you can do, most of our industry would do once a month. Okay, the good part about once a month is doesn't cost a whole lot, 1 time a month. However, if there's a mistake you can catch, is take a whole month, and then you have to go back and see what you actually did wrong and things like that. Okay, so then you need a number of your sales. So whatever the time frame you're doing, your sales would be according to that. Daily sale, monthly sale, or weekly sales. Okay, then we're going into the cost right now. Okay, first you need to know the beginning inventory. All right, how do you do that? Before that time frame start for your period, you going in and count everything that you have. Okay, how many number 10 can of tomatoes you have, okay, in your pantry. Then you multiply those with the amount of money you pay for each can. Okay, then after that, then you go to your flour, your sugar, your oil. You're done with your pantry, then you go to your cooler. Same process. Then you go to your freezer. At the end, you add those amount of money up. Remember, whatever's sitting on the shelf does not generate revenue for you. Okay, this is when the inventory part come into play. Okay, you don't want to sit on a whole lot of items because those items do not generate revenue. But you don't want to be too little inventory that you upset the guests who come in and want particular items. Okay, so you need to balance this correctly. All right, so you have the beginning inventory for the number that you add up, then you add purchases that you have during that period of time. Then at the end of the period, you do the process all over again with physical inventory counting of everything. Subtract that number out from your beginning inventory plus your purchase. If you have any transfer, then you subtract it out or add it in, especially those of you who have multi-units in your establishment. Sometimes your franchise can transfer from one branch to the other. That need to be accounted for. After that, then you can calculate your cost percentage, which is your cost divided by your sales multiplied by 100. Okay, so you have your food cost percentage. Generally, in our industry, it's run about 25 to 35%. Okay, what that means is that every dollar that you bring in, 25 to 35 cents going into your food costs. Okay, beverage costs run a lot more variable. So it could go from 15% if you just do beer, draft beer usually, then go all the way to 40% could be if you run like wines and high-end stuff like that. So watch out for your costs in order to make profit, all right? Next, we're talking about inventory. Okay, so as we're doing the inventory, we need to know how much we have to order. Again, whatever's sitting on your shelf doesn't make money. So you want to have enough product, not too many, not too little, okay?
Can I stop you for just a second?
Yes.
For a question? So during this time where some of the restaurants are starting to reopen and customer base is fluctuating so much, would you recommend that they look at their inventory now, maybe a little bit more weekly rather than monthly, since customer base is changing so much? And then also, if you could talk a little bit about how much food costs are changing right now, and how do they track that into their inventory, and then maybe also looking at their price points for putting on their menu.
For sure. Again, the more often you track your inventory, your food costs is better. However, it's going to cost them during the process to do so. So it depends on the manpower that they have and willingness that they have to want to do to keep track of your food, of their food cost percentage. There's not really a one kind of method fit all. It depends on their establishment, depends on how they do. If they have enough manpower right now, then yes, I would encourage them to do as often as they could in order to track it. If they have data of what they have been doing in the past and they keep track of all the data that they had, that will be very helpful, because now that your capacity is only 50%, so whatever data that they have prior of the sales of the cost, then they should calculate that 50% capacity into that. So for example, they used to order 2 cases of hamburger, okay, but now their part number is at 2 cases. Now that their capacity is only 50%, then I would take that into calculation. If they have space to store or stock all the 2 cases and those items last for the long shelf life, then I would still order the same amount. Just do not order as often, just because you can get economy of scale more if you order in a larger portion. That makes sense. So if they have a space to store, to stock, and those products do not go bad easily, I would recommend doing the same as what they've been doing in order to better negotiate for the price that they could do with their vendors. Okay? The safety stock right now might be different. Okay, so if you used to have safety stock of 50%, now you might not need that safety stock at 50%. So safety stock is more like the safe zone for you on top of what you normally do. Need to consider also the lead time. Now that with the COVID-19, everybody seems to run a little bit slower on their business, just because they cannot have a whole lot of people on their crew, okay? So they might lead time from 2 days, usually from the time that you put the order in, to the time that you get the product. Used to be 2 days, now it could be longer. So check with your vendor regarding the lead time. Whatever the norm before COVID-19 might not be the norm right now that we're doing. Okay, so make sure you communicate well with your suppliers. Reordering point, you could do 2 ways of how you want to keep your stock. You could set your reorder point or set your par number. So your reorder point will trigger when you need to order the product, okay? And how to do that is you multiply the lead time. Again, need to check with your vendor with the regular daily uses that you calculate, okay? Then you add safety stock into it. Once you hit that point, that comfort zone, then you want to reorder. Or if you set your part stock, you feel comfortable with the data that you had, that you need to have 10 hamburgers in stock, okay? When you get lower than 10, then you know that you're too late to put the order in, okay? And par stock is not something that I can tell you what the number is. It's trial and error. And mostly from the data that you've been keeping from the past. That will help out with the capacity that you have right now, okay? In order to do inventory correctly, you need to have consistent schedule, okay? So if you want to do it daily, then you do it daily. If you want to do it weekly, you do weekly, monthly, and so on and so forth. You cannot compare your inventory if you do 1 time daily and 1 time weekly and 1 time monthly. Your number will not be accurate. Train staff member to do it correctly, okay? And you could do just 1 staff member or 2 members, so you know that the same person, same people been trained and know exactly what do you do. Some people keep book inventory, meaning just on paper base only. Oh, I received 20 cases of French fries, and I only used 2 cases. So I should have 18 cases in my freezer. That's according to the receipt, that's book inventory. I recommend to do physical inventory so you know exactly what happened. Sometimes there's waste, sometimes they return from customer and things like that that you cannot keep track from book inventory, okay? Make sure FIFO is being used. First in, first out product. In order to keep your inventory straight and good to use, make sure whatever come in first, go out first. So first in, first out. Make sure to keep your waste locked, okay? So if you have a return from the guest, something go bad, then you jot it down so you know exactly when you compare what you think you have on hand and what you actually have on hand. So you know exactly what happened, okay? So those are little tips that you can take for your inventory. And we're running out of time, so if we want more detail, it's probably have to go for more session and longer period of time. But as of now, I'm just gonna hand back to Dr. O, Godwin Childs, and he's gonna talk more about your staffing. And if you have any questions, you can tag it at the end, or I have my contact information right there if you want to use it. Thank you. Dr. O? Dr. O, you may.
Yeah, thank you, Pete, for sharing that important information. Due to lack of time, I'm just going to go to conclusion on the staffing management. But even before that, I would like you to know that over 1/3 of all restaurants in the country have reduced their staff by over 1/3. So if they used to have 10 people working with them, now they've reduced it between 3 and 4. So, and some more than the other. Some people reduce their employees by 80%. Then to quick service and fast food that are still very fortunate, so they didn't reduce as much. So bear that in mind. So, but something that you need to take away when it comes to the, in addition to the inventory, you need to be mindful of your star items. You need to be mindful of comfort food. You need to be mindful of what you can easily make, either for delivery or takeout for your guests. And with that in mind, that should also affect who you put on your staff. So my point is, your staffing should be directly related to the proportion of changes you are making to your food service establishment. So if you are cutting down your hours of operation by 50%, if you are cutting down your menu, or if your business is reduced by 50% or more, you should be mindful of that and ask yourself, okay, how many staff do I need to actually do what I really want to do on a monthly basis or thereabout. So my general recommendation is, if your purchase volume, your customer count is decreased by 50%, you should consider decreasing your staff by around 50%. And of course, it depends on your restaurant concept. It varies from one concept to another. Now, staff management considerations, you need to be mindful of your fixed cost, which will remain the same. However, your variable cost, no matter what the variable cost is, either semi-variable or perfect variable, it should be reduced. Utility cost should be reduced. Food cost should be reduced. Labor cost, of course, should be reduced. So when you combine your food cost plus your labor cost, that is your prime cost. And for each restaurant, it may vary from 55 to 60% or thereabout. So if you can reduce this cost in your establishment, you can also use that to determine the number of employees you need in order to help you break even or generate profit. During COVID-19, I'm not going to tell any restaurant to be worried about making profit. What I will encourage them to do is at least break even. And if you can make profit, that is even better. So you need to be thinking of how to survive this pandemic. And if you are fortunate about making profit, that is even wonderful. So moving on, you need to think of the best time to open and close. You may not be opening 24 hours as you used to, or as long as you used to. You need to be deliberately selective from employees who are willing to work during this lower capacity period. You are looking for the best of the best employees among those who are willing to work. You need somebody that I call hospitality hygiene ambassador to help in coordinating and ensuring that all your health and safety protocols are followed, among other tasks that you may be assigning to the ambassador. That is the hospitality hygiene ambassador. That may not be his or her only work, but that will be one of his or her major work. You need employees that are multitaskers, those who can do multiple things at a time. If I'm a fast food owner, I need somebody who can do the grill, who can do the fryer, who can do vegetables, and who can also cash somebody out. There is no specialization in labor at this time. You need people who can do many things. And then efficiency of employees is very, very important. So you want to pick the best of your employees to help during this pandemic. That is the truth. And that is what each of us need to be thinking about. If you used to have 10 employees, you probably want to cut down to 5 employees or less. If you used to have 20, you probably need to go down to 10 or less. But as you are going down, you want to make sure you pick the best of the best who can multitask. I have a lot of slides I want to show, but due to time, I know time is out, so I have to summarize for you. We are open to any questions now, or you can send in a chat question, or you can email us for any of your questions. For more information about me, this is my phone number. This is my email address. Feel free to contact us anytime you want. But you can ask questions now. Whatever time we have, we can answer them.
Well, thank you so much to all of our speakers. And I think, yeah, we'll open it up now. If there's anybody that has specific questions for any of the speakers, or if there's anything specific that you would just like to share that maybe you have found has worked well in your establishment and you'd like to share it with others, we can do that. I also want to give Lori Felt, who's on with us, a moment to just introduce herself as a resource to you guys. So Lori, if you could just briefly introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Katie. Yeah, I'm with the Northwest Indiana Small Business Development Center. So I think I'm acquainted with a few of you. We work with small business owners and startups throughout the region. And of course, during the current situation, we've been trying to assist people with their immediate needs as it relates, whether it's SBA loans or how to reconfigure their business and their marketing and so on. Our resources and services are available at no charge. And it's been my pleasure actually to connect with the folks at Purdue Northwest. Both Dr. O and Pitt are very knowledgeable about culinary world, and I'd encourage you to ask your questions or share a little bit of your current situation and tap into some of their insight this morning.
Thank you, Lori. And then I'll just mention too that, you know, Dr. O, your marketing piece around a collaborative effort in the community was kind of spot on to a conversation that we started last week. Justin Post, I think, is on this call as well. We had a small group just meet to talk about what is our community marketing message, I guess, for the summer. Our small businesses and our restaurants are very used to high visitation and a tourist kind of atmosphere during the summer months. And we want people to know that they're doing everything they can to keep their consumers safe as they come into their establishments. And then how can we have a consistent message that everybody's using to convey that? So I appreciate your reassurance that we're headed in the right direction. And I will let you know, for all of the restaurants that are here, that we are working on that and putting together some messaging that we can use across Michigan City during the next couple months, during the summer months. So stay tuned. So anybody have any specific questions or anything that you would like to share as a best practice? You can just unmute yourself and ask or share.
One thing I'm noticing quite a few local restaurants doing is really shortening their menu as a way to manage inventory. And to the point where I think, are some of you guys kind of intentionally wanting to run out of certain specials that day? Any input around what you're doing with a far shorter menu, particularly if you're only doing takeout?
And as you can see, I just put a slide out there, a slide that I couldn't show because of time. It is not uncommon at this time to modify your menu. You can see from a restaurant survey, 43% of restaurants in the country currently have narrowed their menu to a limited offering, 43% of them. And some are using coupons and combination of that, 17% of them. Some of them have added large family pack, 12%, refrigerated or frozen items, 10%. A lot of them have included comfort food, just something they can easily make, deliver, or take out with less chances of infection during delivery and preservation. So we need to be mindful of that. This is the time we need to use that innovative skills and say, okay, what can we provide our client quickly, comfort food, and safely? That will also help us meet our bottom line to remain either break even or profitable. So just be mindful of that.
We also could utilize one items for more menu items. For example, if you have potato, in order to maintain the inventory right now, you should use potato in different menu items in order to keep smaller inventory. And if you used to serve red potato, russet potato, and things like that, try to limit your inventory into less. Less is more at this point.
If I could, I just have a quick comment. There are a lot of us that are are working, you know, together to get through this. A lot of us have been in constant contact with each other. And I really think it's important, like Dr. O said, for us to work with our chamber and our health department to show the community, the restaurants that really are doing this. Everyone's saying they're doing it, but it's really important to show the restaurants that really are living up to that. You know, we worked hard. We've been training our staff. You know, I've got, you know, I manage the restaurant. I'm the bartender. I'm the hostess. You know, we're all doing something. You know, I have 2 girls doing curbside that also have to reset and sanitize. You know, I have 2 girls trying to wait on my entire restaurant. And it's just telling people you have to be patient with us. You know, we don't have food product. We don't have staff. We have to change our operations. We have to do more work. And I think if the chamber and the health department can help us get that message out, that would be great.
Perfect.
I second that. Very, very well said.
That's great. Nicole and
Julie.
Julie from Patrick's, yes.
So,
Who are, you know, two restaurants in our community that have continued to do curbside pickup and delivery. And, you know, your talk about comfort food, I would definitely say that Nicole took on that comfort food idea pretty strongly. She was even doing like take-home meals where that everything was ready to go and you just took it home and you were able to heat it up at your convenience as a family. So, you know, the mac and cheese there, that's a good comfort.
that is the way to go. You have to be very innovative, very quick. Those who are quick and ready to adapt to what is going on right now, they will make it.
Yeah.
Those who are taking forever to adapt, I'm sorry. I mean, you just have to do something. Those will find it more difficult to rebound. So if you really want to rebound, just pack your current strategy, pack it on the side and say, for now, what do I need to do to sustain this operation? You are not losing what you have created. No, you are just putting it on the side like a safe. But you are thinking of a different way to survive this current period. Then when this period is over, now you can reconsider, should I go to my old ways of doing business, or should I combine it, or should I just stay with my new ways of doing business? But no matter what your ways are in the past, I assure you right now that if you don't modify it, you will be among those who will be closed. And I'm not saying this to scare anybody. I'm saying this based on experience and my expertise in this industry. I didn't have enough time to share my experiences, but I have over 30 years of experience in this industry, and I used to own my restaurant, and we still have one in Los Angeles as we speak. And from many research that I've done, following the trend in the industry, from the time of 9/11 to recession of 2008 and 9, I can tell you stories of how people rebound, but we don't have time for that today. But from that story, the summary is you need to adapt. You need to change the way you've been doing business to a new way that will enable you to sustain yourself. So that's just the summary from all those research. So be mindful of that.
Well, that's a really good summary there. And I think, you know, again, going back then to communicating that to your customers, whatever you're changing right now, whatever you are doing right now, you know, just making sure your customers understand that. And I think they will continue to be loyal to you.
I think the big thing that you talked about before, I really like the idea of marketing community together. So I don't know what your initiative is on that or conversation, but when this all started, my only goal was to make a connection with the customer in the absence of being physically together. And that's why I started videos, which talk about throwing humility out the window. There were early mornings where I was stressed out and tired, but I just wanted to create a conversation with the customer. And I think it's really important, you know, the My Michigan City, the Michigan City Strong, you know, even if we could get a video together of a few restaurants that are showing what they're doing and showing cheerfulness in the line of safety and what we're trying to do, I think that would be really great to put together. just like the guys that did each individual restaurant. I mean, we could do something like that quickly and hop around town and just say what we are, who we are, and that we're doing our very best.
Yeah.
And I also believe, like, in times like this in pandemic, mean people get meaner and kind people get kinder. So let's target the kind people and be the kind people and work together to make it happen.
Nicole, you hit the nail on the head, and I'm very proud of what you're doing. Please keep doing that. Again, I will push the Department of Health, I will push SBA, Lori, and I will push Chamber of Commerce to come together quickly and work with the independent restaurant owners with any sort of funding, either from the state or from the federal government, to put up a marketing communication with a good branding that you are following safety protocol. And each organization, each independent restaurant should be promoting that on their website, social media, TV, radio, broadcasting. I didn't have enough time to share my marketing plan with you, but if you have additional time to meet with me and my colleagues, either after this presentation or anytime, I'll be able to share detailed strategic plan for those marketing communication. Those are the kind of things that we bring consumers back to each facility, because it's done as a group, not individually. And there's no competition. With the support of the health department and Chamber of Commerce, that will give the consumers more confidence. They need confidence that your facility is safe.
You folks are going through the same thing. It's the same situation you folks are going through. So the more thinking process you folks can combine together and consult each other, one might be doing one thing that's good, spread it out so all of you could do all good things. If one make a mistake, spread it out so you all won't make the same mistake. It's a time to get together and not separate at this point. So.
Yes, agreed. Thank you so much. Well, any final questions from any of our restaurant owners? We did record this, so I'll send that out to all of you so you have it to reference back to, as well as some of the contact information that was in there. I will also be sure to send it to anybody that, I know there was a couple people that registered but weren't able to make it this morning, so I'll send it to them as well. But please know that we're here as a resource. And we will reach out to experts to find you the answer if we don't have it here at the chamber. Lori's here, and as Dr. O said, they're at PNW are available as well for questions. So really look forward to this summer months in Michigan City, and we will be doing everything we can to market our restaurants and our small businesses. So with that, I will close it out. Thank you again to our speakers for participating, Dr. O, Pitt,